Welcome to the VIP Value Innovation Pricing Vodcast, where value is at the heart of every conversation. I'm your host, Karen Chiang, Chief Value Officer at Ibbaka. I am excited to introduce our distinguished guest, Lak Chahal, President and CEO of Binary Stream. They are an award-winning Microsoft Dynamics 365 ISV. Binary Stream has simplified complex financial and operational processes for thousands of organizations worldwide. With over 25 years' experience at the helm, Lak has grown Binary Stream from a small team working out of his family home into a global solution provider, supporting over 3,500 customers in more than 30 countries. He engages hundreds of Dynamics 365 systems integrators. Lak is especially known for building a culture of innovation, inclusion, and growth, and for leveraging technology, especially embedded solutions for Microsoft Dynamics 365, solving business problems at scale for the CFO office. Thank you for being on our show today, Lak. I'm really looking forward to your insights.
Thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me, and I'm really excited to be here.
Perfect. I'm sure our audience will learn a lot from this. Lak, what does value mean in your world and at Binary Stream?
The value to me is the customer, really customer first approach, right? So what that means is that how we serve the customers, how every employee in the company treats the customer, is about making sure that solutions that we provide to them helps them to be able to kind of really streamline their business, provide them better data, provide them, really save them time, save them money, but above all, things like scalability, compliance, right? All those things are kind of very, very strategically high level. But above all, the value to me means what is our differentiation as a company? What is connected to the main pain points we solve for the customer? What are the kind of like are we really kind of focused on the customer's challenges? Are we helping them solve problems, right? Are we providing them, so our solutions are not nice to have, but really very, very critical that they're actually are providing them competitive edge in the way they run their business, right? So that means also better accuracy in terms of what they're doing, but also, like I mentioned, about scalability, compliance, giving them really kind of like full value all the way around, but always customer first approach.
I love that. I love the customer first approach because for many people who have listened to my show before, I've always stressed that value is actually in the eyes of the customer. So what is it that really what is valuable to the customer and how do they see value? And in order to do that, you really have to take that customer first approach. And I know that, your organization, serves as we mentioned, the CFO office. So there again, we see that that the data, the metrics, the impacts really matter to obviously the CFO office because we are talking about numbers here. So whether it is about efficiencies and operations, we want to be able to translate that value to something that is measurable. And I know that you work a lot through partners as well. Is there anything you want to sort of add in terms of how collectively Binary Stream, because of course Binary Stream presents part of the value to that end customer, but you have a really rich ecosystem of partners as well. So do you have a comment there in terms of how that ecosystem of partner really helps drive that innovation and operational excellence for your customers?
So maybe I can. So that's a thank you for describing our ecosystem, Karen. So on one side, we have Microsoft, which is a massive global player in our space. And we work specifically in Dynamics 365. We work with their both kind of cloud platform, Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain, and Dynamics 365 Business Central and Power Platforms as well. So in one area, our goal is always is to how do we leverage Microsoft's innovation and basically take that innovation to the customer to provide value. That's one side of things, right? The
Mm-hmm.
second piece in there is that in our, like you mentioned, our ecosystem consists of Microsoft on one side, our customers above all, but
Mm-hmm.
also our partners. Our partners are really the major system integrators for Dynamics 365, but also ISVs, companies like us, where we collaborate in parallel with, um, sort of to make sure that the end customer we serve, we can do it in a without too much friction and make sure that the solutions are compatible and providing a lot of value in those cases, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that point of view, there is definitely is a lot more complexity from the point of view understanding, really what we do in our case is unique in the sense that we are not platform agnostic. We are 100% bet on Microsoft. And, sort of like that means our solutions really take advantage of a lot of the kind of base functionality that's already there, right? So a lot of time I've seen many SaaS providers which has 60% of the ERP stuff, maybe 40% they're doing on top of that, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that cost can be higher in terms of them kind of having the cloud solution, the infrastructure they need, where our solutions are embedded in the platform. It does not require a separate infrastructure. It has the same user interface. It's really Microsoft had built that solution, right? And on
Mm-hmm.
that, our area of not just kind of having competencies with Microsoft and their programs to how to accelerate growth, but also making sure that we are kind of like, continuously working in this ecosystem that really, above all, I think it's all about taking the innovation and driving customer value, in those areas for sure.
Yeah. And like I think the piece that I want to highlight there is that yes, there are several players who are involved in delivering value. And oftentimes, people do think of, hey, here's the piece of software. But then I think what you're touching upon is that there's also a high degree of knowledge and expertise, right? And I think sometimes that knowledge and expertise is overlooked in certain industries because people are always trying to position, say, the product first. But I think in our cases, both for Ibbaka and for yourself, and many people operating, even if they are just selling I didn't say just selling software, there's a lot of expertise and service consideration in that delivery of value as well.
Yeah. So maybe one thing I can highlight there, Karen, is that the important thing there is how much risk do we, if you go and deliver a solution that doesn't work properly, or you don't have the domain knowledge, right?
Mhm.
So, or you don't understand the platform, or you don't understand what the base solution is. So all those things are very, very critical to be able to really reduce risk for the customer that when you provide that solution, you are actually, basically looking at that. I give you an example. In our case, we work in the ERP space, so many of our QAs are CPAs, right? So
Mhm.
that just show the level of business analysts are CPAs, right? So these
Yes.
are the people who really understand both in terms of the gap compliance or IFRS standards, right?
Mhm.
Combined with, so those are very, very critical that when customer kind of goes in, it's not just, okay, let's knock out a solution. It's more about actually, and that takes many, many years of knowledge, right? And then
Mhm.
also Microsoft's competencies, right? Competency to be able to work with Microsoft and keep your software up to date on Microsoft releases, right? So you're not kind of like basically locked into something that's proprietary and so on. So that
Mhm.
means you have to be continuously thinking about your standards that are compatible to the Microsoft's high standards on those cases.
Yeah, and I think that was a really great example, right? Because you're combining, as you said, that domain knowledge expertise in your world because you are dealing with, subscription billing, right? And servicing the CFO office. So you have to be able to really understand that space, understand the terminology, understand the processes, understand the governance involved, and then
Yeah,
really marry that as you say, to the solution at hand, which in this case is the Microsoft stack, right, of
yeah,
Dynamics 365. And of course, that technology evolves. And in fact, both of those things evolve. So, from a knowledge-based perspective, that's why it's really important to choose a organization which can marry those things together when you're thinking about the implementation to really realize that value provided.
yeah. So one thing I want to mention in there, Karen, is that our solutions are built in a way that we sit like CFO's office, right? So that means we sit part of the Dynamics 365 or ERP platform. But really, what we're doing in there is we are bridging the gap for specific industries, right? So our solutions are built in a way, whether you're looking at subscription management from technology or software companies' point of view, or MSPs and CSPs in that area, or we're looking at multi-entity management, which can apply to multiple industries in there. So those are things like, for instance, if you're managing multiple companies in healthcare, in retail, in hospitality, transportation companies, telecommunications. So what we find is that we kind of bridge that gap in a way that it can reach out to the front in those industries and really align that the business processes in those industries, how they run their CFO's office or what are their needs are, so that it's very much kind of aligned in a way that it can really scale, but
Hmm.
also really provide them a lot of value as a solution. Because you can go all the way down to your GL, whether you're doing your month end, quarter end, year end, whether you are doing your reporting on a regular basis, whether you're looking at slicing and dicing. And of course, now it's more about innovation in AI as well.
Mm. Can you talk a little bit about that innovation in AI? It seems that AI is obviously here. It tends to come up in almost every value innovation pricing conversation I have. Share with me what your thoughts are around AI for your space.
So first of all, I think AI is such a huge topic that really you need to know what you're trying to solve, right?
Mhm.
So what are the kind of customers' needs, and how can we really provide value in a way that, especially for SaaS companies, is to how do you stay relevant as a player, right? So
Mhm.
that means what we look at from our point of view, our biggest cost is our engineering teams and so on. So we actually look at every role within Pioneer Stream and say, can we utilize some of the AI tools to help us to be more effective at how we build our solution? How do we kind of really drive more value for internal areas, but
Mhm.
also for our customers as well, right? So we're looking at how do we build kind of agents on top of our solutions, right? That really
Mhm.
streamlines. And one of the things that we have, it's been really amazing for us, is that working with Microsoft and the innovation they can come up, right? We are
Mhm.
actually on the forefront of working very closely with Microsoft and taking their billions of dollars of research in those areas to be able to apply to business applications, right? So
Yes.
for us, that's been a phenomenal way. We've been involved with many of their major initiatives, and we've been able to lead the way in a way that we can really. But I think from a pricing point of view, it's so critical that more and more AI seems to be more based on a consumption, right? So
Mhm.
rather than based on the user licenses and so on. So it's quite amazing that how the value is even becoming bigger in the AI world, right?
Mhm.
So it's no longer kind of like AI is very much kind of based on the impact it has in the company, the value you create, and how the values are reflected back to the customer from a pricing point of view. So from that point of view, I think you guys been phenomenal in terms of making us understand how to connect value to pricing as well.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with you. AI is very much an enabler.
Yeah,
And I mean, Yeah, every organization is looking at, how to really enable AI to deliver that value, right? And as you said, is it something that can be used to improve our operations, our processes, sort of our internal ability to scale? But really, then, as you said, it's a collaboration. And again, that customer first mentality to say, hey, how can we together, because we have that domain expertise, we're on the forefront of the technology, benefiting from the relationship, for example, with Microsoft, to then say, hey, we can be that trusted advisor to see and give advice on how this is affecting your business as well, right? So I think, again, that customer first, that ability to work well together to establish that trust, but then that trust, then as you work together, you're sort of iterating on, what can we do better? So in this case, another topic which we often talk about is, this is the value we provide today, but how can that value evolve over time in a way that really maps back to the customer's need at this current point in time, but then also try to forecast. And I think AI will help us to do this, is to look more predictively, to say, hey, how can we sort of predict some of these changes, or these are the things that may evolve, and we want to be able to bridge that gap as well.
So Microsoft is very interesting, Karen, that what you said there is so true. But one of the things that Microsoft is working with is they call customer zero, which means how do you be AI first, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
the frontier firm is another big research that's gone into, as you know, with more and more as AI is coming in and the value that provide and how it's connected to pricing. But the other one is with the AI is in the future, the role is going to be the people's role is going to change, right?
Yeah.
So one of the big changes that's happening is that where knowledge previously people used to have a concern about where the knowledge is going to come from. So obviously the AI tools helps to every employee. If you imagine you hire a brand new, intern, sort of, they can
Yeah.
basically learn so much from that knowledge, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
where customer zero or frontier firm play a big part in that. But
Mm-hmm.
really, the future that looks like the frontier firm is that every employee will have so many agents, right? So
Mm-hmm.
really, they are kind of like the agents are helpers, right? They're never going to replace the person in a way that you elevate your. So that means a better value for every person down
That's
to
right.
individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
means if you start thinking that way, that really helps to align to a customer value as well,
Yeah.
and making sure that customer and that's a major shift right now that's happening, and we're kind of aware of that, and we're trying to make sure we can adapt to that as well.
Perfect. So, Lak, what are your top recommendations? So when it comes to, your top recommendations of, and I know that because we've worked together as well, is when we think about uh, enabling your team to really put customers first and sort of exercise that muscle of value-based methodologies and mindset. What are your top recommendations for approaching that?
So one of the things we notice is that really the value based approach and the pricing, one of the key thing is that we need to be close to the customer. That's first above all. And that being close to the customer doesn't mean just the salespeople or professional services. That means throughout the whole company need to be aware of that every person is thinking about the customer and what value they're creating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know in the past it used to be very much kind of like every department does their own thing. So and really, that creates silos, right? So it's really
Mm-hmm.
kind of like having the mindset that I know my bigger purpose is to help customers in this way. I understand who my customers are, right? That's one area. But the second one to me is there's a major shift in that area to be able to get your sales team to do discoveries based on value, right? So that you can follow your methodology in a way that's going to drive value by kind of like making sure that the data you are getting that can help you make better decisions and really align it to 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 the value you provide to the customer. And then you can connect that then to the pricing and then make sure that the investments you make in those areas, right, are kind
Mm-hmm.
of integrated into that as well. So that's another area that for us is very critical, is to make sure for long-term sustainability, you have to make sure that you are kind of like pricing it correctly and making sure that it's a win-win for both sides.
Perfect. And yeah, that definitely comes out of our playbook, the Ibbaka playbook as well,
Yeah.
where, value creation and implementation, or what we talk about the value cycle, is a team sport. As you say, it's not just the commercial sales team, but the entire organization and everyone on staff needs to understand how they are creating value for their stakeholders. And those stakeholders, as you said, customer first, because we got to be led by our customer. But of course, there's the internal stakeholders. When it comes to driving value and growth, that is also a team sport. And I know that you work uh, very hard to enable a great culture of team collaboration. So I think that's, a key lesson is that team. And then, as you say, starting off, to really always encourage your team to discover and validate the value and what really matters to your customer. And we call that, really understanding the voice of your customer and how you can respond and really help them with their needs, and to really track that over time and get that consistent message, of course. But then, of course, recognize that message or those key value points may change from over time, from the sales conversation to when you're getting to customer success, right? But having that linkage of the story across that journey. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Karen. Just to wrap that, the last thing you said there is, for us, our kind of culture is very much driven by values, and our values are growth, innovation, and teams, right? So teams to us is really very, very important, that we help each other, we work together, we are learning together, we are growing together, we are serving the customer in a way as a team, whether we're working with our system integrators, with Microsoft, with other ISVs. So it's all kind of like in this ecosystem, very much kind of team approach, right? And we take team as a very much kind of approach of ideal team player from Patrick Lencioni, which is hungry, humble, and smart, right? Sort of having those three combinations to drive culture. And we're very fortunate that we've been in we really worked hard at becoming the top employer in Canada or the best place to work. And those
Yes.
are all really methodology that help us to build a strong culture and drive success for internal, for the employees, as well as for the customers.
Yes, well, Lak, congratulations. I mean, 25 years of leading binary stream and taking it yet again to another level. I am so thrilled for you. I, I'm happy that you're able to spend, this time with us to share your wisdom and expertise here.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you for helping us in the pricing area, for sure.
Okay, take care, Lak.
Okay, bye-bye.
Value and pricing are strategic levers for growth, resilience, and lasting customer impact. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, give us feedback, and share with your network. Connect with me at Ibbaka or LinkedIn, and I welcome your suggestions for topics. Thanks for your interest.